Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the Night Shift Open here. $12,000 on the line. North America, the focus, but Europeans can apply, as we have got everything ready to go here for our games. It is going to be a magnificent 2 days of competition. My name is Kolaris, joining you with Zombie Grub in 2026 on the same broadcast. This is ludicrous. And of course, Jason Kaplan. How are you doing, Jason? Are you excited finally for the Open to begin?
I'm excited for this being the first time since almost 1 year ago today that all three of us have been together. Not in person necessarily right now, but we were there at your wedding in 364 days ago. About to be 365 days, if I can remember how many days are in a year. But I'm excited, man. This is going to be great. The biggest prize pool in Deadlock history, kicking off with the help of Intel and Walmart. I'm excited to see who's going to take this because we have a star-studded lineup of teams.
Absolutely, and I'm really glad. I thank you very much for almost throwing me under the bus over on Twitter today as I tweeted out how excited I was to get a weekend of esports going. And
not excited for your anniversary, though. I get it.
No, absolutely not. ZG joining us here as well. How about yourself? Are you excited for some excellent Deadlock action? We already watched the qualifiers yesterday, which was awesome in itself.
There was a lot of qualifiers, absolutely, but it was fun qualifiers. You know, we had a ton of very, very good teams actually, well, show us a little taste, I guess, of the new meta since we've been getting, I guess, so many changes recently. So that's certainly what I'm excited about, seeing what develops and what new ways people can, use the urn in really innovative and interesting ways.
Yeah, it's definitely not like that. We've had changes since. It's fine. But of course, let's take a look at how the open bracket all unfolded, right? We had 64 teams across the board. You guys... Okay, wait. Is this a bracket for ants?
Whoa.
I can't... my eyes! Jason, we had 64 teams from across Europe as well as the Americas here being able to play things out. And of course, I think that we had so many good performances. There's so many people signing up from everywhere. The Finstack of One More Wave. I watched Slice and Dice versus John Chungus, kind of the streamer team. There's so many good games went down yesterday.
Am I the only one that's watching us zoom in and thinking to myself, enhance?
I'm thinking it too.
Yeah, okay, good. I'm kind of the other one here. But man, the fact that we had in 7 minutes our entire bracket fill up with 64 teams and then had like 40 to 50 teams waitlisted as well to join, I think shows that Deadlock is doing well here in 2026. And man, this really makes me want to continue to have more of these open events because the more, more teams, even if they don't get through into like the playoffs, the fact they get some experience and kind of get into playing these events, the whole grassroots aspect of this is something that gives me chills.
I completely agree. It really sets like a very strong foundation as a whole for as the esport develops. And of course, here's our double elimination brackets in terms of Group A as well as Group B. Of course, we had 4 invites ZG and 4 teams from that qualifier yesterday did join them, and we got a right lineup of teams.
Yeah, I think this is if you're familiar at all with Deadlock Esports, then you're going to be familiar with basically everyone on the list right now in these groups, right? And you're going to be excited to see some of that classic NA versus EU. You're going to be excited to see, of course, the new urn changes and how that's looked. If you didn't catch the qualifiers yesterday, I think we're all very excited to see what these guys can give us at the top of their game, right? Such a big prize pool, such a advancement, I suppose, of esports. Like, this is really cool that so many teams signed up, and then it was grueling, and we got the 4 teams that now hope to continue on their run alongside the invited teams.
Yeah,
I just want to also make clear really quickly here as well, like in that bracket, the initial matches for people who haven't been keeping up with how it's going to work are all best of 1s, but everything after that is going to be best of 3s. And how we're doing matches over the course of today is we're looking for the best matches of the day to broadcast for you. So we're, I think, starting off, if I'm not mistaken, with Lowkey W versus Leviathan, which again, best of 1. And then we'll be moving into, most likely, if we assume it goes that way, over towards Group A. I'm not going to say what team just yet. Depends on who wins and who loses, more importantly. But it's double elimination, so it's not like you lose 1, you're out. So the best of 1's not a huge deal, but you better not lose that best of 3 after that.
No, absolutely. This definitely a great day of Deadlock to come, as well as tomorrow. And a big shout out, I would say, to everybody that was able to make the bracket and everything happen yesterday. The guys in the back as well. You got Killinger, you got Solomon, and ZP were kind of locking it down. I was there for the ride until about 2 a.m. because I was just like dipping in and out of games, seeing what was going on. And it was such a smooth execution on it. I couldn't believe. I was scrolling down on the Discord and there was like, it never ended because there were so many channels, ZG, of like all the players playing in their voice channels, all the match channels kind of populating as well. So Hands off. That was amazing.
Thank goodness for advancements in technology, because I'm going to just tell you, if we're going from a 1v1 sport where we did used to have round of 128s, even with only 128 people, right? Like not times 6 with all the teams, right? Mm-hmm. It would not go as smoothly. Like this actually could be a miracle in the entire esports landscape. I think we have to double check, but the fact that apparently it was flawless yesterday is truly amazing.
Yeah, and it led us to this with some great teams qualifying, Jason.
The most amazing thing about that is that the fact that Clark stayed up till 2 a.m. Like, that's surprising to me. I've never heard him stay up past 10 p.m., to be honest. He's normally like in bed, cozy with his glasses on, a little reading light as well, tucked in the covers with his book. 2 a.m., man, he must be like wrecked today.
Well, I napped before this.
I was going to say, you took a little nappy.
Because I'm getting old. No, I'm doing double duty. I've got a lot of shows throughout the weekend, all right? I've got to plan where my little naps are going to be able to sit. But we got lots coming at you today, and especially those best of ones to start things off. Best of ones can be a bit tricky, of course, but the fact that we start with Lowkey W going up against Leviathan, it really is an EU classic, Jason, that I'm excited for once again.
Yeah, and the fact is we just had this matchup in a best of 3 on Night Shift on Wednesday, and we did see Leviathan take down Lowkey W, which was really cool to see. The fact that Leviathan finally come back into their own and show us they can reign supreme here over at EU. But thinking ahead how this goes in a best of 1, it's going to be so tricky, I think, between these teams and how it's going to play out because, again, double elimination, you lose this best of 1, then you lose the follow-up best of 3, and you're out. Lowkey W want to have that chance at meeting Melee Creeps potentially in the grand finals again, like we saw, was it last weekend in DSI?
Yes, it was. And just so everyone knows as well out there that if it is EU versus EU team, they do get to play on EU servers, I believe. And then if it's EU versus America's team, they have to play on the America's servers, as we are an American-centric.
Yeah,
okay.
some of the teams were definitely just playing on NA the entire way through, though. So I do wonder if that's going to happen again.
Okay, well, fair. Let's talk about our lovely sponsor, as we do have, of course, Intel or Walmart joining us here to be able to get things going for the Night Shift Open. Jason, this is the biggest prize pool in Deadlock history so far, so it's an important one.
Yeah, and I think it's also really cool to see Walmart dipping their toes in esports. To not only be in esports, but to kind of give us the biggest prize pool in history. There's a lot of great things. I actually was back in the States after DreamHack Atlanta. Went and go see my parents, and I was like, you gotta take me to Walmart because I gotta stock up on things to take back here to Italy because I don't want to import it from Amazon for like 40, 60 euros a piece. So I got me some candy, I got me some some cake mix and stuff like that, brought it back for my wife, and I've gained about 20 pounds now. But it's been great, and again, we're so happy to have Walmart here. We even do have, I'm not gonna spoil it just yet, some special things in game related to them too, but we'll see that in a little bit of time.
You guys at the Night Shift, you're tricky. You do this all the time. I can't wait to see what it's going to be. And of course, yeah, it's me
maniacal.
Have you seen that Have you seen that gif of the raccoon going yes?
Of course.
Yeah, of course. It's one of my favorites. Type exclamation mark Walmart in the chat as well, as you could potentially get yourself some stuff on board too. So good times here for the Night Shift Open, as we take a look at our teams and how they are going to be playing things out. Because of course, Lowkey W versus Leviathan, I got a little bit of a take there from Jason to start things off. But again, ZG, when it comes to these two teams, my kind of would lean over to Lowkey W. They've looked fantastic in Night Shifts up until recently, well, including recently here, and it really is an all-star roster.
To Lowkey, I mean, I guess it works out because I was going to say I thought Leviathan was going to be pretty good, but I see Lowkey W is up here, so right, I should be talking about them, and I would love to talk about them because they have one of my favorite players who actually believed in Wraith, at least as far as the matchmaking games go, for a very long time, and then now is playing them again, which of course is Zergy. Love to see that the meta has really shaken up and that we've introduced some heroes that I've mained for years and they've actually been valid, and that we've seen Zergy really show how powerful it is. But it's very cool to see this team, continue on, I guess, being as strong as they have been. We've really gotten some what's the word I'm looking for? Comfortable, I guess, recognizing what teams we can get into with Deadlock and being like, oh, I know those guys from X amount of time ago, and they are still relevant. They're still pushing the meta, and they still look really freaking cool.
Yeah, I know exactly what heroes ZG's on about when it comes to maining them, because someone like Paradox right now is a menace, doing so much damage, especially with the way the urn has changed here, Jason, as well. Obviously, those bombs are an absolute terror to actually deal with in terms of that space control. And Lowkey W W have been able to use Paradox to great success against someone like Leviathan as well, right?
Yeah, not only necessarily in like great success, but just as you kind of pointed out, raw damage. I think we've seen Obi Kim playing it, putting out some of the highest damage, if not the second highest damage on his team, quite consistent when it comes to Paradox. Whether or not it becomes a staple pick going forward, I'm not 100% certain on, to be honest. I know the earn changes weren't that big with what we had from Night Shift till now, but they still are relevant, and I want to see how it's going to change the way this plays out too, because not only have we seen the changes when it comes to the resist you get, but also the timing of the earns have switched up, delayed by a minute now, really making you practice your 6 times table if you were ever bad at that in school.
Oh God.
Terrible at maths, terrible, absolutely terrible. But let's take a look as well across the aisle and see what Leviathan is bringing as they go up against them once again. And of course, it's the trademarked 3 Moen Krills. I do wish there was more here. We did one time when I joined on and we had like 8 Moen Krills on this screen. It's possible, ZG, but 3's enough for now.
I guess 3 is enough. I do love that, like, the previous screen is kind of like, this is also kind of like maybe a little bit what the meta is. And this one's just like, some people are going to be looking at this like, is this the meta? Can we get, is this possible? But no. Obviously, Leviathan, yeah, I'm giving them a little bit more credit just because they did win recently, right? But they actually... There's so many things that have happened recently. They actually struggled recently too, as in a week ago. They were one of the teams that were coming into the Deadlock Invitational, right? That people were like, oh, they're going to do very well. And while they were meeting teams that were also very good, so of course, like, it's not guaranteed that they were going to win it. I mean, frankly, they would be a little rude right now. Like, they kind of bombed out. Like, I think they didn't have maybe the best read on new meta that really was started last week, I suppose, and now we're kind of iterating on that earn. But obviously, they figured things out when Wednesday comes around, and so that's why I'm like, okay, back to it. I think that they got a solid shot here at winning this initial best of 1.
I mean, you know, who really could be a standout team when it comes to the AoE slop that was the mid lane earn turn-in? Let's be fair, right? I don't want to really like lock in any of those results as like that's it. These teams are good. These teams are bad for sure. I think what Leviathan though have done is something I've criticized them about for months. Actually, it's my 9-month sub anniversary on the channel here, is that they didn't have anyone past OCs that could carry games that would do well. If OCs does bad, game's over. If they somehow gank OCs, keep them behind, Leviathan don't look good. But Freemock or Freakmock or the Fridge, whatever he wants to be called these days, has really stepped up as a player for this team. His Shiv has been great. I believe his Silver's also been great as well. There is some sort of like flexibility lacking within the team. If they do pick a Silver, you know they're not going to be picking Shiv or vice versa, because he kind of plays both for the team. Massively stepped up though. I thought it was gonna be a reg, but I give credit to Freemock where it's deserved.
Well, looks like we are straight into the draft, and I guess to address the elephant in the room very quickly, oftentimes you get yourself your very obvious bans early on, right? The fact that Pocket is sometimes that second ban guarantee because you just want to try and take it away. Obviously, the Affliction is a very scary thing, ZG. What are you thinking for this one? And Doorman goes to start.
Well, I think there's a little bit of the psychology game that is, I'm pretty sure you're going to ban Pocket, but like there is that. So Doorman has stayed consistently very, very good. Pocket, I do feel like, just jumped up, skyrocketed up, right? But it stayed there. So you got to ban Pocket. Anytime no one banned Pocket in these qualifier matches, everyone was like, what are we thinking here? Why do we let Pocket go? So there it is.
Jason?
It's got to be a Silver or a Shiv. I think more likely it's going to be Silver at a Lowkey W, but if they pick Silver, they know they're most likely going up against a Shiv out of Leviathan. So something to keep in mind going forward. I can hear the awoo before I even see the picture. And there's the Silver coming in indeed here for Lowkey W. I mean, again, it's one of those potential hoop picks we've seen him be able to play, but I mean, it could go Listic's way. I think Lowkey W still have the most flexibility in their roster out of any team in the world right now when it comes to Deadlock. So definitely a smart pickup for them nonetheless.
Benedict.
Elizabeth's trolling me in the chat already. This is ridiculous. Venator comes in as well for
I can ban it for you if you want.
Perfect, please do. Yes, okay. Venator comes in. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a Shiv. I feel like Freemock thrives on Shiv right now. For my money, it should be that, but we'll see.
It's not.
Okay,
it is Billy. Well, yeah, I mean, we just talked about it for 30 seconds about how good the Shiv is, and it's not like
it's take it though, because
they don't take it now,
side, right? Yeah, true.
I think it's cause. So I really want to see this, and ZP technically did poke a hole in my theory. I want to see Cosmetical Shiv versus Freemock Shiv, because I say Cosmetical's a better Shiv. He says Freemock's a better Shiv. But honestly, they're both really good Shivs in general. But the GT coming on through, I mean, we had a night shift game. I think it was the prior week was number 39, where Cosmetical had like 70 stacks, or not, I guess technically had 7 stacks, but 70 extra spirit power within the first 17 minutes on his Grey Talon. Ridiculous stuff, and something you really have to respect, because Lowkey W plays so well around his Grey Talon to create these opportunities, and they also specifically stop trying to get kills when they know someone's low and that owl's coming on in.
I think the trap's good, and I think the space control is good, ZG, right? For being able to deal with what is the urn underneath the bridge now means that if you want to go in against the urn, if you've been able to capture it, you have to go into the trap, and that's kind of annoying.
That is very annoying. I feel like Grey Talon was kind of on like a knife's edge for a little bit. Last weekend's tournament, we wondered if they were going to be really exceptional. And then I think it really did come down to like how good the individual player was as far as getting those stacks and keeping Grey Talon relevant as the game went on. But clearly, like they were playing him in the entirety through the qualifiers. Like Grey Talon's obviously going to be a pick. And then we had Victor shortly after that, which I am curious as to where Victor kind of lies in the meta right now. Obviously, everyone was like really valuing him just a couple of weeks ago. But then it felt like maybe that was a bit false anyway. But now where do you think Victor lies? I guess Jason, the all-knowing Jason.
I mean, okay, well, definitely not all-knowing. That's ZP. The wall breaker Victor that we kept hearing about for such a long time and seeing, it kind of lost its steam in obviously like a recent balance change. They nerfed his gun damage overall. But even when the wall breaker kind of existed, Listic didn't play Victor as a wall breaker. He took him as a hero to take space and to take damage for his team, to get the aggression onto him, to get abilities thrown at him. So it's not hitting his teammates. He never went like the gun build and then would sacrifice himself to take down walkers. It was about attack me. I'm going to heal up as much as I can and buy as much time for the likes of Cosmetical, Pooh, and Zergy to just decimate you. I think the semi-interesting thing is, now look at this, is Wraith going to be the M1 hero for Lowkey W, for Zergy in particular here coming into this? Or is he even potentially going to be on Lash? So I would think it would be more of a Vraic hero coming on through, because he has played Lash before as well.
Wraith looked good last night in the qualifiers, let me tell you that. Victor, though, it's just, straight refresher. The space control exists so well underneath urn fights as well. Bebop comes in. And again, all of these heroes are kind of angled towards like, okay, yes, we can do big AoE damage. Even Rem, to a certain extent, with the ultimate, right? Just being able to get that big sleep off if you need it, ZG. So there's definitely some stuff. And obviously, banning a McGinnis makes a lot of sense. You do not want that to be hitting the urn location.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, we didn't talk about the bans, but Viscous was banned on Lowkey W, which I found interesting. But then, yeah, McGinnis has been a big problem recently. I feel like everyone's felt it across, like, all of the matchmaking. I loved Vindicta coming back. It felt like it was just last week. I was, like, looking at, like, who could come in last, as Graves also comes in. That's been a big talking point, right? Like, we're definitely missing some characters that I was expecting to come out, primarily Yamato, I suppose, I was prepared to talk about. But Graves has really, it's come up again, right? It feels like it wasn't that long back ago when the gun Graves was really a discussion point, right? And then nerf taken out, and now people are like, Graves is so terrible again. Very, I think, meta for the situation. But I just love Vindicta because I did feel like there was something to the stakes and helping out in these battles, and we did see that actually used fairly well last week. Hopefully we continue seeing it. Cool lineups, I mean, some expectations and some maybe surprises.
Jason?
Is that a Zergy Graves?
That's a good question.
You know what? The Goo Master himself, he could probably pull it off, and I wouldn't be too surprised. I think one thing they have to worry about, though, look at Leviathan's comp, is if you get hooked into a stake, you're probably dead. Like, you're probably most likely dead. They have such great pick potential, and Leviathan have shown really good success in this last week of playing with these very high damage, high kind of tempo heroes. I don't know if this necessarily fits into the composition they showed us just a few days ago, but it's still extremely deadly knowing you can hook someone in, nap time the rest of the team, or chain gang into a nap time. They have a lot of like wombo combo potential from Leviathan. But Lowkey W, they have Cosmetical to set up here on the Grey Talon. They have the front line of like Lash, Victor, and Silver. They have Obikim's Paradox damage. And then, of course, Zergy most likely going to be on Graves. It's going to be interesting to see how this actually kind of plays out between the two.
I am actually so curious about if Graves is Zergy, because it feels like, I mean, we're talking about damage. If we look away from that and just the way that the character actually like maneuvers, basically, I just feel like it's so different for the characters we usually see with them, which, a lot of times would be Wraith or a Venator. So very, very curious to see how specifically that plays out and who is on it.
We got to see a lot of Graves in the qualifier as well yesterday. A lot of space control, right? The double walls coming in to be able to do it alongside a Paradox wall, alongside a Grey Talon trap. I think that there's some space control here for sure, Jason.
Yeah, and I think we're about to kick this one as well. I'm going to get rid of you, Clark. If you throw it to us, I'm just kicking you out of this one, okay? Is that doable? You know, I don't need your permission. It's doable. ZG, we're going to take over the show here as we're dropping on into the Cursed Apple with our lovely billboards here with Walmart Intel, pairing up with Night Shift to make this happen. The biggest prize pool in Deadlock history, and with some of the best teams, if not the best teams in EU and NA clashing head-to-head here. Now, if I'm not mistaken, this should 100% be on the European server. We only go US East when there's an NA and EU players in the lobby, and then we go US Central when it's just North American players participating. But this is going to be such a good way to kick off the NSL.
So apparently last week for the weekend tournament that we had, there was a lot of them just playing on NA so that they wouldn't have to deal with basically going back and forth between having to deal with ping, which is certainly a strategy that I've heard of in other esports as well. But I'm not the one who can confirm whether or not they're still doing that, even though, yeah, very much if they wanted to play a nice game of Deadlock, you would play on Europe between these two. But yeah, that compensation sometimes can get a little, it can get a little annoying, even more so than just playing the entire time on it.
Oh, for sure. We've seen a lot of people actually, a lot of EU players playing on NA just to pub it, just to kind of get the feel of how the ping is going to be when we get into this one. We also did have a lane swap actually kick off. I believe Graves rotated to the right-hand side and Paradox towards the left. We do have Vraic indeed going to be on the Graves and Zergi's going to be on the Lash, which we've seen. I think it was like 2 weeks ago. I mean, I don't think it was amazing, but it definitely wasn't bad.
I mean, that's fair enough. It still feels a little more in line with what I expected as far as like Zergi's kind of Excel characteristics go to, where
death from above.
Well, yeah, basically running around and gunning people down. But yeah, Graves wasn't really in my brain as that character. Obviously, it can be annoying facing Graves, as we were talking about some of those combos that could happen. Obviously, swapping into the grasping hands would be annoying, but we're currently watching the left lane here. Just really duke it out, and we'll see who starts to edge closer, I suppose, to being prepared for now what is a 12-minute earn. So pacing the game has shifted a little, I suppose you could say, backward with the recent patch.
I'm curious to see if OC's goes a similar build of what we had. Just look at him in particular. I talked about him as being generally the carry for Leviathan and what he has been in the past. But this last week, a Night Shift, he ended up picking up a Fortitude. So you can be around in fights a lot more often and then just continue to farm, not having to retreat back to base and have him involved a lot earlier in the game than he typically would on some of his other heroes that he would play. So I think this is a smart adaptation of Leviathan that they needed to make if they wanted to have success. And right now, success going the way of Lowkey W here with a good parry on a free mock, and he's going to fall, laying down the law.
Yeah, that Fortitude, I think is like, it's a little contentious, right? Like you can listen to so many different people who are all very good at Deadlock talk about, anything really, the metas, the items, the heroes. You can get varying opinions, but I do know that at least some people out there were like, I don't know about this Fortitude, but I think the idea, as you had described it works out, right? Being able to temporarily draw back and then return, hopefully from a safe distance the entire time, can be very helpful. But yeah, First Blood going to the way of a Lowkey W, as with Riosh being in a little bit of trouble, and he's going to have to back away.
Yeah, I mean, just going to heal up. He's looking for those hooks in that lane, obviously trying to catch out maybe Obikim, maybe Zergi. Any of them is going to be... Well, I think Obikim's going to definitely be the better choice of the two if you have the ability to choose on this one. Also, big shout out to Jax Libido, man. 10 subs coming on in. We haven't seen him in such a long time. If I remember correctly, moved to Korea, but he's been a staple supporter here of the show. So thank you once again for being here and coming to watch NSL.
Nice. I hope you enjoy Korea. It's one of my favorite places, so... Little envious.
The StarCraft person liking Korea. What a surprise.
Oh, what a surprise that is. You don't have to like StarCraft to enjoy Korea, by the way, and not that I'm being paid to advertise Korea.
That's fair. I've been there once, but it was.
Did you like it?
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
good.
of course.
Okay, just making sure. Maybe you had a terrible time. Maynard, or another caster in the scene broke his leg basically in Korea and was like, I don't like this place. And I was like, well, that seems unfair. But anywho, moving back to the game.
I can probably guess who that is, but I won't name any names here. Irizumi going to be rotating in towards middle here to help out, as there was a 3-man fight out of Lowkey W, bringing Listic in from the right-hand side to look for some burly pressure. I'm actually curious if we have any monster rounds picked up looking for the initial damage. You can see Freemock's going to have one trying to combat the shove that Lowkey W is going to continue to throw in this mid lane.
Yeah, Obicom also picked some up. I saw Side picked up a Rusted Barrel for the lane. It's going to make some sense, and hopefully deter Silver as well from a couple more of the Werewolf transitions. If that would be the ideal, basically. And we're getting set up for a couple of these bridge takes. Riosh unfortunately does go down. I'll be able to help, obviously. And I believe one went to the Shiv, one went to the Victor. I love this overlay, by the way. This is the first time that I'll be casting on the overlay. I hosted with you guys last time, but it is... I'm like, okay, I just have to guess until we go to the person's view. No, you guys have it on the overlay. It's so good.
I'll trap the bastards.
Flattery only get you so far, ZG, but it's appreciated. No, yeah, they've done a fantastic job. Production has done a great job with everything related to the overlay for sure. Sai comes in with a kill. That was over towards, I believe, the mid lane here. He's even trying to go for the extra pressure onto Hoot. And actually, Hoot's actually the one continuing the pressure on forward, looking for that last HP remaining on Freemock. It looks like he will just right-click himself to safety. A rebuttal being picked up by Cosmetica here on the Greytown. I mean, to be fair, he's going to have, I think, a lot of pressure coming his way. Greytown's such a good counter when it comes to Vindicta because she's very easy to snipe out of the air. Now, obviously, with a change to the fact that you can counterspell in the air and still fly as Vindicta, is going to help a bit. So we should see counterspell picked up for Sai. But the fact that you can be hooked in, you can be chain ganged in, you can be slipped out of the air. There's a lot of things coming your way. And I wouldn't be surprised to see a Phantom Strike as well being something prioritized towards Overseers or potentially Freemock because you have multiple players that you have to deal with in the air.
That's a very good point. Yeah, I agree. I was checking out the rest of the items, seeing if there's anything interesting, but I think we kind of covered the big ones. As you know, obviously we're still buying stuff up, and we actually got some alts online as well coming through. Not quite able to grab Cosmetical. Speaking of being in the air, just gonna be able to take out Hirosumi actually in turn. As Freemock, as you pointed out, did barely survive. Actually, he's gonna be able to use this survival buff hopefully to help out in the mid lane, which has been a bit back and forth. As it seems like they're rushing here. As we see, obviously the Great Talon doing a great job harassing from above. That's what they do. But yeah, there is a ping. There is very aggressive movement from Freemock. Absolutely wants to get Hoot here. It seems like Hoot is going to just barely be able to get through. Is the knife going to do it?
Oh my God. Like 1 HP. Oh, no, he did die. He did die in the end. He fell. Like that second knife landing, the patience out of Freemock there. Just wait. He doesn't need to rush it. Get that final knife on in and get the kill. That's massive. And potentially another as well. And Obikim is going to be dived under the tower here. Freemock looking to start this game off strong for Leviathan. But the Death Sun coming on through, throwing him under the Guardian. The parry will be there. But his HP bar, I'm not sure if it will survive because the Owl's coming on through here out of Cosmetical looking for him.
Yeah, obviously wanting some stacks right now, and I do believe that contributed. I wouldn't guess that it did. So we have this Lash versus Bebop fight. Classic Cannon is won by Lash. All the Viper fans are very happy right now.
I think, yeah, I think what's so impressive about Zergy is the fact that he plays on a trackball and he can play someone like Lash and still make it, or still be so accurate. So hard to do when you're fighting from in the air and shooting from in the air more so than on the ground, like a lot of other heroes. And Listic, Chakra animation is going to be up. It's going to be procced and used. There's still quite a few players who'd actually deal with them. The hook in under towards the Guardian. Knocked back as well. Listic's not going to survive to fight another day. And at least turn back 1 kill for themselves. But ZG, they're still down 4k gold here. And we're starting to slowly get towards the point of that first turn spawning on in.
Yeah, very slowly. Certainly the jury is still out on whether or not, hey, this urn in its entirety is going to be, let's say, good or bad for the game, but already guessing is like how later urn is really going to affect if things are already snowballing out of control, which I'm not saying that they are, as it actually just proceeds down to a 3k difference, a couple of Guardians going down, but yeah, it does change, as I said, pacing a little bit, as we got a bit of a chase going on too.
And I think something that's kind of cool about it, as Hoot's going to finish off Rake here, is it also desyncs the buffs from Urn. Because typically they'll come at the same time, right? So now you have the ability until you hit that 30-minute mark to fight over buffs and then fight over Urn 2 minutes later in general. Well, not in general, that's not even close to right. But you desync those fights. So you can kind of take them at different times and there's going to be hopefully more contention out of teams now related to that.
Yeah. Which might not have been their intention, but might have been, you know, they realized like that would actually be maybe a fun aspect, right? Where there's a couple more of these objectives, kind of, as far as like buffs being called objectives, not so much, but you can kind of call them that. Reasons to team up and coordinate around a particular area on the map, as we see Hopicum just barely escape out. I just want to highlight Hoot here on the silver. Really feels like been doing some excellent work. Didn't escape out of Freemock's Shiv, but is going to be able to take down Overseas. And I really think that Silver has just proven to be an ever consistent good character in Deadlock, and that really has not changed in the last week with all of the urn changes.
It hasn't changed since release, I'd say, man. Like, we've seen Silver as a priority every single week since then, which feels like ages ago. And I don't know if we're ever going to see Silver fall out of the meta, considering the mobility and all she brings to the table with the amount of damage you have based off like max health and missing health. And Hoot, definitely one of the strongest players when it comes to her too.
What is that red? I didn't... Was I supposed to recognize that red circle that flashed?
I could not see it because I live in Italy and my internet's terrible.
Oh, okay. Well then, just made things awkward. By the way, I'm noticing what you were shouting out. We got the Walmart banners all around, so that's a nice touch.
Oh, there's something else.
Okay.
I'm just waiting for it to happen before I mention it. Just don't want to say what it is just yet. I'm sure some people out there have noticed it.
Oh, all right. So it's already happened.
Well, it's yeah. It may or may not already be on the screen. We'll never know until we have the moment kick off. Has another outcomes on through, and I think Cosmetical is probably on 0 stacks now. Actually, I don't think he's gotten a single assist with any of these owls just yet. Quite different than what we saw previously. Yeah, he didn't get the assist on the kill earlier that you were talking about onto that kill. Maybe I did miss one, to be fair, but the hook comes in onto Zergy. Zergy's extremely low in health and will fall to the bomb out of Rayek here, and also another kill coming on through. This time out of Fremont as Obikim had responded. I think the Blades finished off Listic here. But we're just about a minute and a half now from that first urn spawning on in.
Right, and I think, you know, this is around the time where we start talking about making sure you get your items, making sure you're in position, and then also checking out how the map objectives have already fallen. And other lanes have been pushed forward. We're talking about the last Guardian being up on the side of Lowkey W over to that right side. And obviously the Walker's not yet touched, but yeah, gotta get prepared for the eventual urn fights as it is coming up. And if you're gonna lose someone just before that happens, that's how the other team gets the urn easy peasy. This actually might be too fast of a kill considering that we still are obviously on very low death timers. But this is kind of what you're gonna hope for, is to actually take someone out quickly and make that urn grab just that little bit easier.
You know, I always talk about Overseas as being, I think in my opinion, the best bebop in EU, but honestly Rake's making a pretty good case for themselves, because I don't think he's missed like a single hook from what I've been seeing. Rake gonna be in a closet here, most likely gonna fall from this one with the urn spawn in 30 seconds time. The snipe gonna miss the point blank snipe. Come on, clearly not a CS player here. And he does fall to Irizumi actually in the end of this one, and now Listic's joined the party. He does have his chakra animation up and an anvil to boot. Gets knocked on down. He's trying to go for the chaser because the urn in 17 seconds will be alive. Well, is it alive? I guess technically alive. There are little feetsies that run it.
Yeah, the guy talks, so I mean, I'd call that alive for sure. Yeah, but yeah, that was quite a brawl over there down in the secret shop. Obviously, we saw knockdown is in effect, which you can expect coming out from both teams. As the last Guardian also falls, as you've seen, some of the souls have actually go ahead and transferred already. Leviathan's technically in the lead right now, but not so much that we're talking about any advantage for the urn. As you talked about it, we got another prime hook here, taking out Hoot. Would be fantastic. Unfortunately, not able to do so before the old werewolf comes out. And then you got to reconsider if you really wanted to take the fight.
The urn is in the hands of, I believe it was Listic, chauffeuring it across the map, sitting at their mid lane Walker here as Fremont and Sai were trying to make some pressure onto it, even chipped it down a little bit of HP as Hoots bought some time, keeping Overseas here towards the left-hand side. And Irizumi's actually going to show himself and look for this kill. Even Fremont, this is the perfect time to go for an urn turn-in now for Lowkey W. If Hoot can get this information to survive, this would be quite a big ask from him. But it has delayed any sort of rotation coming on through, and this should be the initial urn going to Lowkey W.
Yeah, you think so? There's no. I mean, they're buying so much time. You're right. Even getting a heal at the last second there almost continued to. But the urn has been dropped. And we're actually going to try and fight it here for Leviathan despite missing 2. They're going to tell them go ahead and push that Walker, so maybe they can get something. Listic is going to be the one to confirm the urn, as Fremont also falls for it. So now it is hopeful that the Lowkey W Walker on the left side does go down, and at least there's a trade.
That movement on Cosmetical, trying to dodge the Iridomini out of Osis, who's on 13k right now. Cosmetical on 10. It did cost Listic a shocky animation to dunk this urn, but the support out of Rake with the grasping hands, making sure no one could go for the contest. Cosmetical will escape, but they've lost the Walker on the left-hand side. They overcommitted players towards this right-hand lane, only turning into a kill on Fremont, but they lost a Walker in turn. I'd say that's a pretty big win here for Leviathan, now themselves having a 4k lead.
Yeah, exactly. I think that actually ended up being an okay play, basically. You know, they could have tried to also win the urn and really dedicated harder, and they probably would have lost, right? And then lost more than just Fremont to a death. Instead, they kind of, maybe play a little around it and said, hey, this is clearly going to buy time to grab that Walker, the first objective. The first flex slot open. We're not quite at that point yet, but now we got ourselves Overseas and Irizumi into the fight, immediately taking down Zergy, and now looking to grab Hoot as well. But Hoot has been very slippery. He's at least lasted a long time, and is going to be able to escape back to the Walker.
And we see the pressure was still continuing to be in towards middle. I think Leviathan trying to use this 5k lead to their advantage. OC's looking for the 1v1 on the right lane. Walker up against Vrayek. It would be huge if he can take this. He's already at 16,000 souls in the solo pressure he's applying. I don't think you can send just one player to him anymore. He's at the point where you need to send multiple players from Lowkey W to deal with him. And you can see the chase is going to be on here. The swap not available here for Obi-Kim. And the trap perfectly placed of OC's, but he's trying to dodge away from the bird, I guess. He wanted to go up initially towards the buff, gets locked down in towards the secret shop, and he will fall.
Jeez.
Eventually, as Cosmeco cleans that one up. I was expecting maybe some teleports to come in out of Leviathan to join him over in that secret shop, but instead they do let him fall and not able to turn a kill back for themselves.
Yeah, unfortunate too. I mean, maybe if they were able, if the owl wasn't an issue, as you pointed out, kind of pressuring basically like literally from all angles, even from above, maybe they could have done something, but forced to give him up as he went to the secret shop. So Leviathan, they get the first walker. They're currently up 3k, and Osis was, you know, doing a pretty hot job, right? Continuing to gain into those souls. Gonna take a temporary retreat on that, right? So there's some time for Lowkey W to catch up and not have to worry about, you know, a vendor that is starting to, I feel like, really emerge. Always relevant, of course, with the ultimate. But yeah, when's the next urn now?
Should be 18 minutes.
12, 18. There you go. Yeah. Okay. Every 6 minutes.
Yeah, plus 6 every time. But also on the bottom right hand side, ZG, we got the little urn timer, so we don't have to do math on air.
Your overlay continues to impress me.
Yeah, our production team definitely best in the business, I would say, when it comes to Deadlock and many other things that they do. But I'm not going to spoil what those are. But we do see the 4k lead for Leviathan. They do have also both buffs. They have casting on Freemock. If those knives didn't hurt enough before, they're definitely going to hurt now. Even a gun buff for Vrayek. I think the really worrying sign, though, is that you do have like an M1 late game carry to Leviathan. I think Vrayek can kind of fill that role, but not as... I don't think it's necessarily the same role as like a Venator or a Wraith or something like that. So I think Lowkey W do somewhat have like a timer on their composition if they want to take this victory, because I don't see them feeding a lot of farm to Zergy, even though he typically would be their M1 player.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very good point. And then also talking, you know, a little bit what I was talking about in the draft, how sometimes great talent, I mean, it looks fantastic. You know, the trap is a real bothersome trap, literally, when you're talking about the urn. But then some of the discussion around gay talent is like whether or not you're going to be able to stay relevant as the game goes on if you're not getting stacks. And we've been kind of paying attention to if Cosmetical's been able to get these birds actually killing people, but it doesn't sound like it's been the best game for Cosmetical, as we see Lista get into a ton of trouble and go down.
Yeah, exactly. Overseas here on the Billy, taking them apart brick by brick. The problem is they're going to lose their own brick with OCs. So the counter gank, well, it wasn't even a counter gank. It was just simultaneous ganks on both sides of the map out of both teams, with Listic and OCs to be the one to fall. But honestly, I'd rather have Listic dead than OCs. He needs to continue to farm up. He's only at 17k. He's been halted for quite a long time now. He's died twice in a row. I think he was alive for maybe a minute max in between those deaths. With him not farming, Lowkey W is doing a great job of shutting him down and shutting down the chances of Leviathan to take this match. And also take a walk on the right-hand side here, ZG.
Right, yeah, I think that's an excellent point. It's exactly what I was going to say. Osis is not going to be able to, I think, explode like maybe they would in a lot of other games where, frankly, they're not dying simultaneously, or back-to-back, I should say, not simultaneously. But Lowkey W able to get a walker of their own, open that flex slot, which is becoming more and more important as the game goes on. We are going to apparently have to pay attention to the to Lowkey W, you know, guarding their base guardians, though, as troopers continue to harass. Cosmetical is back up and is going to take care of that, as poor Rem found... a little alone, but not going to be chased down.
Such a difference with you and ZP. One of you's like, poor Rem. One of you's like, he deserves to die. So it's
well, to be clear, on my stream, when I find a Rem, I am like, I am going to kill the child.
Wow.
But as a caster, I can be like, oh no, he's cute. He's fine. He's not affecting me, is he?
He's good. He's cool. Well, overseas gets the urn picked up. Turning on the other side of the map. That was an owl has come on out, but we see Lowkey W have lost 2 players already. And that owl, it's probably going to be used to dislodge the urn, I would guess.
Yeah.
You could just hear the screeches in the sky, and overseas looking for it. And there it is. The urn going to be knocked out of his hand. Actually, it's not even knocked out of his hands.
Apparently not. I thought it would as well, I have to be honest with you, but just also getting to pay attention to Cosmetical. Only two stacks right now, so yeah. Definitely has had better Grey Talon games, especially yesterday. But obviously that urn very easily going the way of Leviathan, as so much of the action was actually found in the mid lane, pushing towards that mid walker of Lowkey W. They are in position to defend, however, and now even giving chase onto Freemock, but you think that this guy's bitten off more than he can chew, and you're just not right. The guy always manages to find an escape. I might have spoken too soon. Another bird is available because a very short cooldown. Could this be the one that gives him another stack? No, because the people are already dead. Guys, give me a second. Let my bird do it. Would be the ideal, but not happening.
Yeah, I think securing those kills right now is definitely more important. They were down 4 players in Leviathan. They turned in the urn and they had a fight in towards middle, but Leviathan are the ones to come out behind because again, OCs was dead. Now the mid boss being started off here for Lowkey W. Initially looking pretty good for them as Leviathan are forced to retreat away from this one, forcing the shotgun animation out of Listic once again, but they do lose overseas. And Lowkey W with another kill coming on through. This might be the time for them to take the mid boss and potentially take the lead back in their own hands, down 6k in souls, and Hoot is deep in the enemy territory.
Hoots is just, is going berserk. Very much effective in this particular engagement as they continue to not just push people off, potentially helping out, actually, like maybe stealing a rejuve, but just chasing them down. They know that they have their rejuves in play. Rem's going to try something, but there's all 3 rejuves to Lowkey W, and they're going to capitalize on this. They are going to grab Sai. Irizumi goes down. There is 1 rejuve that is used in this process. Now a second one is Zergy falls too. But they got the rejuve and they're hoping to push that a little bit more. As Fremont does look to do something here, but it feels like it just kind of unfortunately did bite off more to get you 100% that time. Now we got 4 players down for Leviathan, all alive for Lowkey W. They're going to be looking at hopefully grabbing a walker after they pick up these buffs.
Those deadheads just did not leave Fremont alone. Obviously a recent change, able to keep up much better with the opponents they're trying to hit here. And Vrayek, I mean, hasn't done anything necessarily super special, but hasn't really needed to do anything super special. I think Lowkey W just outplaying them when it comes to team fights, and more importantly, outplaying them when it comes to decision making. The mid boss initial bait, pulling Leviathan in for even more kills, is working wonders for them. But Vrayek's already lost rejuve, so gotta be extremely careful. It's Zergy and Vrayek down, as you pointed out before, with only 1 remaining. I mean, realistically, are we gonna see them go for a big fight? I'm not 100% sure, because we do have an urn coming up in just 2.5 minutes time. Maybe that's the play for them. You can see Leviathan making sure to secure as much of their jungle camps and Sinners, more importantly, that they possibly can. And maybe, you know, while we do have this moment, we can take a look at golden statue buffs to get an idea of where they're currently sitting for these teams. Cool. Rem with 31. Okay, I kind of expected it, but kind of didn't expect it, because I hope it's not Irizumi taking their own Sinners.
Yeah, Zergy, actually. Well, it continues to change, I suppose. It was beating out Rem for a hot second. That's a fun graph. I like it.
We got more. We got more of those EG. What else do you want? You want to see player damage? You want to see how much damage the players have done so far in this game? Let's throw it up there. Let's treat ZG.
Okay. I'm ready. Okay. Whoa! Fremont does some damage.
Yeah. He's making it real hard for me to keep beating away at ZP at saying that I think Cosmetical's a better shiv.
That's actually what's been why he's doing this. He's like, I really, really want Jason to say that I'm the better shiv. So you can take credit for that one.
Of course, all the players only care about me, for sure. And here's our kills and assists. So Zergy, you know, maybe necessarily high up on damage necessarily, but he has been a part of 16 of their kills so far. Cosmetical even at 15, actually. I mean, you can see Lowkey W have been fighting much better together. And OC's only at 7. And he's just been picked off in some of these side lanes, or he's died very early in these fights. And I think you're seeing Lowkey's focus in these fights is to take him out of the equation.
Yeah. So, you know, as much as I've been emphasizing, you know, like we're getting stacks on Cosmetical, you know, it's not as much, but obviously still impacting a lot of these fights to a great degree. As you pointed out, Urn's kind of, you know, the next target. So there wasn't, you know, the speed rush, try and get some objective down. A lot of farming has occurred, not really any finds on anyone going a little too far forward. I'm looking at the Irizumi, but of course they're going through the vents. But it is interesting, the Urn is so close to the rejuve timer that it looks like they aren't actually going to have the Urn fight. I mean, we'll see. The Urn pickup fight, maybe, if that occurs, they'd have a rejuve, but for the Urn, I guess, completion, the rejuve will be gone.
I mean, it's just so hard to fight as well for the Urn turn in against a Victor who's almost just trying to die when it comes to the actual position. Also, you have an Echo Shard. I believe that's going to be on Time Bomb here for Obi Kim. So making Paradox do some serious damage again in these like tight close quarters. And for Leviathan, like realistically, who's going to contest it and try to go for the swap with the melee? And I just don't really know. If anything, they have to commit for a big team fight because they still have the chain gang. Like they still have the nap time on top of that. They have the stakes, the hooks. They have a lot of tools in their kit to potentially pull off a pick and some kills. But being down 4K and I mean, it's not the worst in the world, honestly.
No, they obviously still have a chance. We can envision two really great engagements for either team at this point. But there's been some struggles of actually having the entire team there. Either the decision has been made to like, hey, you guys took a fight, you're still there, go for the walker, or just straight up, you know, in the last case of the urn, it was just Ballistic being able to deposit it all by himself because there was such a big fight around the middle walker. Now it feels like we might actually get one of these 6v6 situations. So we're going to see how this looks. I mean, I say that, but Leviathan's a little late to come in here. It's a lot already defending the urn as well. As it ticks down, it looks like, yeah, Lowkey W didn't actually have to worry about that too much, but they'll have to maybe worry about the follow-up fight. Can they win it now that they've used all their abilities to kind of confirm the urn space? Now that it's gone outside of that space, can Leviathan take the fight? Apparently the answer is yes. Vrayek has gone down, Zergy has gone down. I heard it, Great Talonbird might have taken out OC's right there, as they're in a 4-kill streak as well, but the fight is not done. Listic falls too, and Leviathan, they didn't get the urn, but they're starting to get a pretty good fight here. I said that, and then Hoop transforms. Is that going to be what flips the tide? A little bit. Overseas does fall, and the fight continues. As the walkers take a little bit of damage, those could be an issue as the fight just keeps on going.
The blades, the knives, you know, the Freemark are out of commission for another 2 seconds of time. The Dispel Magic being used very wisely because Medical to get rid of that knockdown plus the blades that were sticking in his back. But Leviathan, you know, with how that fight started out, I think we might have a replay of it coming up. They didn't even want to contest the urn. Instead, they actually attacked directly into the backline. It was, I think, Zergy and Vrayek getting hit with a nap time by Irazumi. Vrayek gets immediately picked off, and they tried to just punish the backside of Lowkey W, not having them expect a fight instead of a contest. And I think it actually worked out pretty damn well for Leviathan. The only problem is the urn did get turned in, and Leviathan, I don't think, got enough kills for it to have been worth it, because now they're down 10k here. Cosmetical only at plus 40 right now in spirit power. But either way, I mean, Lowkey W have shown with the composition they have, you can't really contest the actual urn turn-in. You have to fight them in other positions.
Yeah, and I think that's considering what you saw protecting the urn, how many abilities were used or items were used, I mean, it probably is just the smarter play to go ahead and avoid it and hope that the fight does go well enough. But we've counted the tail at this point, and unfortunately it still kind of favors Lowkey W, but it's a strategic decision there by Leviathan that could have worked out.
Yeah, and I like it. Honestly, I respect it. They get 2 quick kills before they lose anyone. I think the problem was they did it locked on Cosmetical, and once again, OCs goes down first in the fight. If OCs just has the protection or survivability in this one to actually have the freedom to not be punished so deep, and obviously dodge away from the charge shots out of Cosmetical, I think Leviathan probably would have won that fight actually, and would have come out with a big advantage, the potential to push down these already unhealthy walkers. So I think, again, like Cosmetical individually taking out the high priority target of OCs was massive to thwarting the plan out of Leviathan there.
Very good point. I wonder if OCs has bought anything maybe to try and help out. Been seeing a lot of counter spells actually have been bought over the course of this game. Listic is pulled into a fight, but he actually has some team behind him to try and help out. We try to just avoid the fight completely. Gonna have to use nap time to help. We're in very close quarters. That's kind of scary. I mean, it's scary to be in close quarters with the Graves. It's scary to be one with shit, particularly Freemark, who is still alive and trying to help out. But there goes Irazumi. There goes Drake, and looks like Lowkey W, they already had taken the soul lead. Now just take one heck of a fight. 4 people down on the side of Leviathan. That's a lot of time for Lowkey W to work with.
Lowkey W's composition for the zone control they have, having the Spirit Snares out of Great Town, having the Grasping Hands out of Vrayek, which he also has an Echo Shard. I don't know what it's on necessarily, if it's on Deadheads or the Grasping Hands. You have Obikim with Echo Shard on Time Bomb. You have Listic with his Aura of Suffering. They have so much zone control that when you fight him in these tight, close quarters, you cannot beat them. Leviathan need to not fight in these areas to have a better position to actually use to win if they want to get back in this game. But now they're down 20k here, ZG. They're down 3 rejuves as well. It is tough times here with Lowkey W looking for the final nail in the coffin for the finisher here in this initial match in NSO.
Yeah. Their walkers were the ones that were pressured when a lot of these fights were going on, but clearly that has reversed. At this point, Lowkey W pushing all the lanes, obviously getting this middle walker. As OCs does take care of left walker, but need to get back and potentially, help out in the fight. 3 rejuves still up and running, and a lot of potential here for Lowkey W to continue basically winning as they hold on to quite a substantial soul lead. They're able to buy everything they want. Obviously, all the flex, or almost all the flex slots are open. And Kalaris helped me out and said that OC did at least buy counterspell. I mean, I don't know that it is going to guarantee that OC is going to be able to actually participate in the fight longer, whip out that Iridomini and actually catch people when they are on that low health, right? But hopefully it does, because I think you're spot on. It's just one of the ingredients that's missing from this ideal team fight for Leviathan.
I'd honestly say I think he's not far enough ahead now for it to necessarily matter. I mean, the fact that you have Listic with Refresher too, and he has Rejuve. I mean, Refresher's on cooldown to be fair, but you still have to kill him twice, potentially 3 times in some of these fights if they get another Rejuve picked on up. It's so tough. I mean, yeah, the counterspell will help you initially with the damage that Cosmetical could do, but with now how far ahead Lowkey W are, I don't know if the front line of Leviathan can even survive the raw damage that Lowkey W can do now.
This is where you would talk about the advantage given to the team that is losing when it comes to the urn. But as we can see, it's actually Lowkey W who moved the team over onto that poor position, theoretically poor position. Very confident in their ability to take this urn even into enemy territory, especially if they just, oh my gosh, obliterate poor old Bebop, poor Riek right there. And they pick up the urn and they're looking to go deposit it.
Another stack added for Cosmetical there. I mean, you saw... I think Hootie even stopped attacking. I feel like he knew this owl would get the kill. He knew they would get the extra 10 spirit power. So why go for it? Why finish it off and kind of grief your own teammate here? But with the urn in hand, yeah, this is potentially a fairly should be free turn in for Lowkey W. So it seems like they're even trying to bait somehow Leviathan into a fight. But Sai, we push you on the right hand side, maybe looking for some walker damage. No one there in Lowkey W to actually defend it, and Zergy taking some space here, so there's no contest out of Leviathan. As we can see in the minimap, it's not going to happen either way.
Right, exactly. Some people, I mean, some people showed up here for Leviathan, but I think it was once again the call to go ahead and try and do something about the walkers at the very least. So we do have right walker going down, middle walker. Looks like Rem was going to try and push it fast enough. Doesn't happen as Lowkey W quickly responds to this strategy while also getting the last walker of Leviathan down. Still with all 3 Rujubes, by the way. A couple people on fire, cleaning up their lanes, and even looking to take down some base guardians.
It's kind of a shame for Leviathan because I feel like the early game worked out really well. Like Rayek was hitting so many of these hooks. They were able to transition them into quite a few kills. I think the big turning point had to have been around OCs, like how he wasn't able to get comfortable, constantly being punished, constantly being ganked, more importantly, that he wasn't able to stay far enough ahead when he had a pretty big lead. I think it was like 4K over anyone on Lowkey W's side earlier in this game. But with the little bit of an adaptation at Lowkey W, it does work wonders for them. Nice little use of Dispel Magic to cleanse that knockdown so you can ground strike on in and finish off 2 more kills. Leviathan down to 3 players, and Lowkey W is still sporting the 3 Rejues with quite a bit, well, not that much time to be fair left on it.
Yeah, very, very small amount of time, which, I mean, might mean that they will go ahead and drop the Kitchen and back away and play it super safe, but they have quite the substantial lead. Certainly looks like this initial match is going to go the way of Lowkey W unless we get one miracle comeback. Rayek able to at least hook Hoot and maybe get that kill, as yes, the Rejuves are now gone, but that's hardly the start of something big.
It's something at least. I mean, yeah, I'd agree. It's definitely... probably not the start of something big, but he is down for 90 seconds. And I think for Leviathan, when these respawns come on in, he's going to have still a 60-second death timer. Maybe that's your opportunity to look for something. You need to get another pick because all these kills with the comeback mechanics in the game now, the extra souls you're going to be getting are going to be massive. And potentially catch them out farming their own jungle. You can see Rayek has shoved up really deep here. Freemox off to the side in mid lane, but doesn't have the backup of Irazumi or OCs who are back towards base. So they're definitely looking for something else, but I think Lowkey W are not giving that opportunity. They're staying quite grouped here in mid lane, realizing we're down a player for quite a long time. With mid boss coming in a minute, knowing that Hoot was down for 90 seconds, a minute and a half. Like if you lose someone here, they're not going to be here for mid boss anymore, and you're going to give Leviathan a chance to get back in this game.
Yeah, I think they're playing, I mean, not even safe, really. Like, they are playing as they should to make sure that there's no cracks. As Hoot, being taken down, that was a very long death timer, but acknowledging it, safeguarding their walker, safeguarding mid, means maybe their lanes do get a little pushed. Maybe they actually temporarily give up some map control, right? So we do have Leviathan able to do some farming. That would have been contentious otherwise. But it's still going to need something a bit bigger. One of these team fights that finally really goes well enough for Leviathan, as they've been kind of missing at completion, everything working together, the nap time, the chain gang, Os coming in at the last with the Iridomini. It could happen. A lot of apprehension around this walker as we finally get some movement, but maybe not a committal.
No, I have to give a lot of respect though for Lowkey W with the best of one here. Biggest prize pool on the line at 12K. They really respected being down one player, and I think in a night shift weekly, you wouldn't even see this kind of play. But they're really being cautious, and they don't want to lose this initial best of one. And I don't think they're going to do it at all here. OC's being chased out. Niradimi's going to connect onto the wolf, but it's still a wolf at the end of the day. And Hoot is quite fed, gets the kill, locks in OCs for another death, and this game I think is over now. It's only left on a Fremont gonna resume me.
Yeah, that was probably yeah, that was as long as they played it smart, I suppose, then they were going to have eventually Hoot back in, and obviously Hoot's still very impactful, but as we're getting closer to the end of the game, as the entire Leviathan team has now been wiped here, you can get the patron and yeah, actually win the game straight up without having to worry about rejuve. This was a best of three, so again, it is not, guys. Then you start to, worry about what you would have done against Lowkey W, what you could have done against Cosmetical. Unfortunately for Leviathan, they're going to have to wait to maybe get a rematch later down the line to kind of work on some of the problems that arose in that best of one.
Well, a fantastic result from Lowkey W. I mean, even looking at it in the draft, right, it feels like the space control was all there for them. And then you've got Victor, who is the perfect person to just stand on the urn, Jason, and not care. That's how it works out.
That's living the life, man. Just stand there and just don't care. And then he picks up Refresher, and it's how are you going to kill him 2-3 times now when these rejuves are online as well. But the thing is, it felt like their comp was specifically built around the urn control, which I didn't think we would see too much, actually, considering it's been moved from mid, and obviously we've changed kind of the mechanics of how it works. But they go for like heavy AoE composition with like Spirit Snares out of Great Town, as I mentioned before. You have the Grasping Hands out of Rayek on Graves. You have Listic there with the Aura of Suffering. There was just really nowhere safe to stand. Also, the Obi-Kim Echo Shard time bombs. It made it very difficult for Leviathan, and I think that's why we didn't see them ever actually contest the urn turnover. Instead, they looked for the fight that we saw where they split off into the backline of Lowkey W, which worked out pretty well, to be fair.
Yeah, I agree. When you were kind of pointing that out, I didn't even notice that was going on in the backline, but of course, you watch them here. Look, he doesn't care. He doesn't care about the hyper beam. He just stands there. And what are you supposed to do? Because the urn, ZG, at this point in time with the current patch, is giving you so much value off the back of being able to constantly get in these turns.
Yeah, I don't think you really can. I mean, maybe if Leviathan had tried to invest into their own idea of how can we get someone off of like the urn when they're positioned there, but yeah, when especially when Listic eventually got the Refresher, certainly we're going to be doing it anymore. But it's so much besides even just the Victor that was able to control the urn that I think Leviathan deciding not to go for it was a very, very wise decision. Like their call to go for their Walker was actually like, okay, let's talk about, is that actually better than getting the urn for that first one, right? It was a lot of good strategic decisions. I think it was just too many fights that did not go their way, particularly after losing Osis and kind of losing what I feel like should have been one of the kind of maybe power spec isn't quite the right word, but like the tempo felt like it was supposed to get going there for Osis around, what was it, the 17k souls we started talking about it, and then it just got stunted. Like Cosmetical certainly being able to just be up in the air, raining fire from above, it seems like at all times, and able to actually focus in on who they wanted to take out the most important characters in the fight, really was I think a highlight of that game, and why Leviathan, even though I think strategically they were like, yeah, let's just try and take other fights besides Urn, weren't able to take great fights.
Yeah, totally stifled poor OCs. But at the same time, right, Jason, you were pointing out, yeah, okay, but on the other side, they're trading that off for a Listic, but technically they're not fulfilling exactly the same roles. Victor's there to just be able to stand around being annoying. Yes, okay, he dishes out a lot of damage, but it's not quite the same as having OCs being your big damage dealer. You're hoping that like overseas as well as Fremont can kind of be in the front line, but the fights aren't moving. They're in one location and they just can't get in to be able to make that work.
Stand around being annoying. That's my spirit hero right there for sure. Yeah, that's the problem, is that he's supposed to be their big carry. He typically will be. At some point, Fremont will fall off when it comes to Shiv, which we did see down the line, especially like when decays are being picked up against him. But the fact that he didn't have any freedom, the fact that they were still able to focus on him, I really want to see like how these fights kind of broke out. How was Cosmetical able to snipe him so consistently? Like who was the one pushing up against OCs in particular to not let him be safe? And the thing is, the comp that they had didn't have protection for him, but in theory it did. You had a Billy who could chain gang away. You have a Rem who could sleep them and then heal you. You had the tools in your kit to protect OCs, but I think they realized that the backline with Cosmetical there, and potentially even Obi-Kim, it was more critical to deal with that than to protect your OCs.
You're bringing up Grey Talon Cosmetical. I think I am of the belief that right now that Grey Talon is actually very important in the meta in terms of that space control, in terms of the damage that they can put out. The owls as well, AoE stunning some people as well as doing huge damage, CG. And there were some teams in the qualifier, there were some drafts that would go by. You wouldn't see Grey Talon at all, but I think he's in a very powerful spot right now.
Yeah, it almost felt like a little bit of a sleeper. Where I feel like there were definitely people who were talking about Grey Talon's value, and then it didn't really show up on the drafts, until a certain time. But now it's obviously going to be a staple, certainly for Lowkey W as well, as they played him. I think I don't want to say every single qualifier game because there are quite a few. But a lot of the qualifier games, if they could get them, they got them. And I was just looking more at the section of the comp potential and how, Lowkey W really did just take so many good fights, because we're talking about, backline and distance fighting from Cosmetical. But then even when we found ourselves in Secret Shop, Lowkey W also were taking some fights there, right? So it just felt like they almost were able to always have the people who are scary in a small zone there, and then people who are scary outside in outside fights.
Here's the numbers. Do you have a different take on it, Jason? Or...
Nah.
No, you're okay with that?
Do you have a different take?
I brought up the take.
I'm okay with it. I was just looking at a lot of these numbers. I was kind of surprised to see Hoot so far up at 45k, but to be fair, he also had a pretty damn good game, even though 5-4-19 doesn't really reflect that necessarily. But early game he was strong, mid game he was strong. He was always that presence you had to deal with. Cosmetical though, with how the game started, I didn't expect him to be 12-3 and 14, man. He had 2 stacks almost 20 minutes in compared to his 70 at 17 minutes this last week in Night Shift. It was slow for sure, but it did come online later on, and it did start to have the impact they were looking for. I think the big thing that hurts though is looking at OC is only at 29k damage, and I think that's again a testament to the way Lowkey W approached these fights and who they knew to go for and to kill to have success in these games. I mean, Fremont 47,000 damage is nothing to scoff at whatsoever. But you can't really single-handedly carry games like this as Fremont anymore when people know how to itemize against you and they have a lot of tools to deal with you too.
Anything stand out for you, ZG?
I mean, that kind of summed it up, honestly. Yeah, I was going to talk about. Yeah, it didn't feel like maybe the Grey Talon was going to continue to scale, but it obviously did. And even in the cast, when we brought up some of those graphs, we kind of had to note and okay, maybe it's not all of the stacks for Grey Talon for Cosmetical, but obviously they're still doing damage, and in particular the important damage, taking out the people that they needed to. So yeah, I think Jason just kind of summed it up very nicely.
All right, well, let's take a look who the MVP is going to be from this game, as well as Lowkey W will move on into what is effectively the winner's match, and it's Cosmetical. It is the bird. It is the Grey Talon here, Jason, being able to rock the numbers.
Yeah, and I'm hoping in some of these highlights we actually see what we've been talking about is the way he was dealing with OCs. And that's kind of why I wanted to push for him to be MVP, because I didn't really need to see 12 kills. I didn't need to see 39,000 damage. I just wanted to see how effective he was at shutting down effectively his counterpart on the other team, because Sergey was playing a Lash this time. Even this initial kill, considering they didn't have ultimates online, he was able to outplay the nap time positions and turn that a kill into, or at least a kill onto Irazumi. But again, his owls, I don't think anyone flies owls as well as he does. I really could not think of anyone else. I know who was. Okay, go on. Or is it
Mikkel had a clip on Reddit recently. I'm just saying.
I mean, yeah, but it's not in pro play. He's playing pubs. He's not on a team. Does that even count? I can't say because I'm gonna get roasted in chat. But his effectiveness of shutting on OC, I think, is why I wanted to lean towards him as MVP.
To me, it makes sense. I think that he had a lot of impact, right? And even if you don't have impact as a GT in these moments, it's the threat of where's the owl. Of course, I think that also for most parts in some of those situations here, ZG, they bought a lot of room for him to be able to make this happen, right? There's always the threat of the Lash being able to abduct you away from those kinds of moments too.
Yeah, well, I like that you brought that up because it reminded me, we literally had a moment where OCs maybe would have had a more successful escape if they had gone up onto bridge, right? But instead they're oh, there's an owl, so I guess I'm not going to go out where it's just wide open. But then they were stuck in Secret Shop, which had other issues. So you're right. Even if Grey Talon wasn't there, even if they couldn't maybe join a fight that would have been in a kind of clustered area, that's always a little dangerous for a Grey Talon, right? Cosmetical was still able to help out with the threat of a bird, which is going to be impactful even if it doesn't get the kill.
And that's the thing, is that you can talk about how strong GT is in general, but he's not strong unless you're a team that's practiced around playing around a GT. You can't just throw him into a comp or into a team and expect him to have great success. You have to know how to play and elevate what a Grey Talon can bring to your team. I think that's really important.
Speaking of which, whilst we continue looking at these comps and stuff like that, how well do you think that the Rem felt? I feel like you're kind of actually sacrificing off. Technically, yes, you've got a bit of space control and you've got quite a bit of sustain, especially with the burst healing that he has got now on each jump, Jason. But I feel like it's not really been able to be that impactful in this game.
Yeah, there was one time it was impactful when he caught Vraic and Zergy. When the urn was being turned in, he gets a nap time on both of them while they were flanking in towards the back. I think Rem has the most success when you can be aggressive with nap time to open up an opportunity for you to take a fight. And I think that's why they went initially 2-0 in that skirmish. But I don't think he was able to actually be effective. Like, I don't think they were fighting around. Like, did we see a single like multi-hit chain gang? Did we see anything really multi-hit nap time? I feel like Lowkey W did a good job of keeping themselves spaced out and not grouping up for these big ultimates to hit. And I think that's where, unfortunately, Rem did kind of fall apart.
Final thoughts on that, ZG? Or
100% what I was going to say. I feel like we had this ideal situation potentially around the urn before they realized, okay, that's not going to work. That then just kind of fell apart when it came to the fights outside. Because Lowkey W did a great job making sure to never have more than 2 people, I feel like, max be hit by these 2 ults.
All right, let's take a look at the brackets then. I wonder if we've got any updates from some of the other best of ones.
I'm hoping then.
Oh, okay. Oh, yes, we do. Oh, yes, we do. All right. Lowkey W is going to be playing against Floormen. And up at the top, Abrahams will be playing against Melee Creeps here as FPS Lounge and Bird with Clock have been dispatched of. And likewise, Leviathan and Get Candy here down at the bottom have been dispatched of. That's kind of what we were maybe expecting from some of these results here, Jason. And that lines us up for an interesting best of 3.
And you know what that means for you? Because we haven't even said technically where we're going to, what game, right? Since we can only cover like one of these games at a time, but they're all being played out simultaneously. We're going to be going into Melee Creeps versus Abrahams as our best of 3 covered up next, which is going to be so damn exciting. One of the best teams in NA up against one of the best teams in EU. I think it's a bit of redemption here for Abrahams and for Melee Creeps to kind of show what they got now as they look to defend their title in back-to-back weekends.
Yeah, for Abrahams and Melee Creeps, they kind of avoided each other. They were in terms of like, there was a 2-0 for Melee Creeps in DSI, but beyond that, obviously, Abrahams tried their luck down on the lower bracket, didn't quite work out. How about you, ZG? Excited for that match?
Yeah, that's exactly why I'm excited. Feels like Abrahams is going to get some revenge. I think there was some talk about just like, that wasn't the best performance from them, but they should be able to do better in the future. We're here in the future. We're a week later. And I feel like Melee Creeps, obviously, they're going to have to respect Abrahams. And it's a bit scary, but it's also very exciting.
All right, well, let's take that break then. And when we return, the best of 3 is on the way here for the biggest night shift of all time, the Night Shift Open, the Night Shift XL, brought to you by Walmart, of course, here. Fantastic. I'll come up with a few more names later on, Jason. I'm thinking them through. I'm workshopping it. All right, we're going to that break. And when we return, more Deadlock.